of the record. We'll now have opening statements, and the Chair yields himself 4 minutes. Today's hearing is about the rating agencies, and I guess that the topics will be fairly broad and we'll cover a lot of ground. I think this is a very important time to have this hearing. If you go back, and look back to the financial crisis and Dodd-Frank and all of the things that followed, some people indicated that they felt like that the rating agencies had some culpability in the credit crisis, that the ratings did not actually reflect the risks that were being taken. So subsequent to that, we passed Dodd-Frank, and a lot of attention was given to the rating agencies in Dodd-Frank. And some of those regulations have now come out. Some of them have not come out. And one of the things that was a part of that was that there was deemed to be too much dependence on the rating agencies in the markets, and particularly in some of the financial institutions. And the Dodd-Frank asked that the references to those ratings be really expunged, and that the agencies, the regulators, would come up with new criteria for measuring risk that was not necessarily tied to the rating agencies. And one of the things we'll want to hear from our regulators today is where we are in that process. The other thing that still is concern to some folks is the fact that there still continues to be a concentration in just 3 of those agencies. That between Moody's and Standard & Poor's and Fitch, that they cover about 98% of the ratings and 90% of the revenue. And some people are concerned that access for other entities to become in RSOs is still limited, particularly when you look at some of the regulation that's coming out and making it more and more burdensome and more difficult for other firms to come into that. And I think we'll hear something about that today. Also of interest to me is the fact that when we look at the fact that some people say that we ended too big to fail with Dodd-Frank. Some of us do not believe that that actually ended too big to fail, but many of us somewhat believe that it probably contributed to furthering too big to fail. When you look at the major financial institutions in this country, a lot of people thought that they should be smaller. After Dodd-Frank, what we've seen is that many of these institutions are actually larger. And what we also now see within the rating industry is that there's still a reward for being considered one of those systemically risky financial institutions. And in fact, that these institutions are getting somewhat of a bump or upticks over other financial institutions, which may in fact have a better baseline financial rating. So these are some of the things that we're going to want to look in today. My guess is that some of my colleagues want to discuss something that's relatively relevant to these times, and that is the role of the rating agencies as it pertains to the United States sovereign debt. And I suspect there will be some questions along those lines as well. But I look forward to a very robust hearing. This is a very important part of our economy. A lot of people still put a lot of credence into these ratings. Some people feel like that they have lost their credibility. And as we're moving forward, one of the things that we feel is going to be extremely important is restoring a little bit more certainty in the marketplace. And so with that, I will then recognize my good friend, the ranking member, Mr. Capiano.